In a short definition, what is masculinity?
I think of masculinity as
taking care of responsibility.
the properties of being a male, or what's defined as being a male.
I think masculinity is the way in which our society identifies males and females differently.
The idea about what men should be based on their gender and their heterosexuality and their body type.
Is a group of traits, characteristics, and behavior that are associated with males.
It varies upon culture is one of the primary drivers in masculinity, and I think kind of your environment and where you grew up has a big impact on how you deal with your masculinity.
Do you think masculinity is the driving force for male ideals?
Yes, I do.
Definitely.
I definitely do, yeah.
Well, for sure. I mean, I think there's different things that are required of you as a man.
Say, like, for instance, in African American culture, masculinity is seen as something that is very forceful, very outgoing, projects as something or someone who is macho in a sense.
Certainly there's constructs that we put in society and how we expect certain males to act, and I think that there are some aspects that are considered more masculine than others.
Can the definition of masculinity be personally altered based on someone's environment or social norms?
Well, it depends on where you grow up.
I can definitely see how that's based on your cultural identity.
So it's definitely something that can change due to where you live or what your family's like.
For example, in your family, when you're growing up there and you're a boy and there's some parts that you're sensitive to and you want to cry, they're just gonna tell you like, hey, you're a boy, so stop crying.
I think there's a lot of factors that will play into how you feel more or less masculine and how you are judged by those around you.
What are a few pros and cons that masculinity has on your life?
Certainly you realize that male privilege is out there.
Men and boys have kind of this idea that they're better than women at jobs and they're smarter and they're more athletic.
Certainly you can make easy jokes. Hey, it's really nice that my shoes fit at the end of the day and yours don't, and my feet aren't sore and yours are.
Friends, family will say that, hey, you're a boy. You should be strong.
I've had positive role models of masculinity, like my father.
I think cons, it definitely affects what you think about yourself, like your body image, how strong you are, stuff like that.
Being a man comes with benefits. These benefits are classified as male privilege. How has your race/ethnicity, sexual preference, body shape, economic class, or gender choice altered or affected your male privilege?
Well, I think I come from essentially white male heterosexual. I would say that in general comes with a lot of male privilege.
I don't think that it's really affected me that much besides making me more elevated in my privilege.
So back there in Panama or here in the States, it depends on your race. If you're an American, you can get maybe higher salary than if you're an alien or a foreigner.
I've had to deal with what the sort of darker side of what that those things come with, in terms of how that privilege affects other people.
Well, it depends on your accent. If you can speak English fluently or like a native speaker,
it's like being something that carries with it a lot of weight and a lot of power.
Have you ever felt that a masculine presence around you has limited you from showing certain emotions or behaviors?
No, I haven't.
Not really. I think that where I live, there's an atmosphere that's pretty open about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
a while ago when I rented my apartment, the tenant, he was a tall and strong guy, and there was some times that I could not tell him something. So
growing up, I got beat up once, just for someone's preconception of just because I was like a musician.
Because I was afraid that he was gonna hit me because he was like maybe a foot taller than me.
Our society has created a driving force for men that yearn to become more masculine. This driving force is basically a group of characteristics and mindsets that belong to the perfectly masculine man, as well as what is acceptable for a man. These attributes belong to something known as the man box. The man box generally includes: don't cry or openly express emotions, with the exception of anger. Do not show weakness or fear. Demonstrate power and control, especially over women. Aggression, dominance, protector. Do not be like woman, heterosexual. Do not be like gay man. Tough, athlete, strength, courage. Makes decisions, does not need help, and views women as properties/objects. How does this man box make you feel?
I don't think there is a perfect example of what masculinity is.
Would you have the right to express yourselves?
Have to like sometimes you do have to like limit yourself or limit your way of being.
It kind of constricts me a bit.
In terms of how I feel about what you said, I would think it's accurate.
I think there's some generalizations in there that have hearts of truth that are very difficult to swallow.
We often strive for that perfect ideal, but when, trying to really approach that is very difficult.
But there is a reality around a lot of the things that you mentioned there. How do we change that box? How do we break down that box? How do we work outside that box? I think it's something that we can all work at.
Now, based on all of the questions I've asked you, has your opinion on masculinity changed, or does it remain the same?
I would say not really. Not yet.
I don't think it's changed.
I don't think it's changed too much, but I feel like I had a relatively flexible, perspective to begin with.
It's made me think a lot about it, actually, what you've asked. I think that it's made me more aware of the privileges that I have.
I'm very glad that young people nowadays are reflecting on these things, because when I was younger, it was like a kind of a topic that everyone didn't want to touch or talk about.
Those things are changing and growing, I think, for the better.
It's opened a lot of opportunities for the future.
The principle or the idea of masculinity has a long way to go. I think as long as we hold on to some of the old ideas of being kind of tough, hard, not expressing ourselves, not crying, then we have a really long way to go.